Hello all. So today, tips at 2. It's Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month, and in the fan club this month we are doing realism. We've got 2 amazing instructors to come along, Carrie Fizog and also Gretchen Fleener. She's from the States. But anyway, so today is just a quick little thing which might be useful for you actually. It's doing straps, so like belts and buckles and things like that. So I thought I'd do a quite a simple one just on my arm to show you how to create the buckle and the belt and add the light to the metal part and that kind of thing. As you can see, I've got some of my little swipes as I call them. They're reusable, so I don't use baby wipes at all. I use these, and they're great for wiping boards and wiping people and wiping faces and everything. I always keep a whole kit of them. So let's start. I'm also going to be using some of my new brushes that I hope we'll be going to market very soon. So keep an eye out, because I will be doing a sort of full talk about them. But there's 8 of them in total. So yeah, so I'm going to be using those today anyway, so you'll get an idea. I'll use the flat angle. I've also got that's a 1/2 inch. That's great for making the straps themselves. We've got my dot comma. So this is fantastic for, it's got a bit of a point, but not as much as my 2 Desert Island brushes. So these are the Desert Islands. So these are the pointy ones, and they're just so beautiful for twirls and swirls and thin to thick and all that sort of stuff. But the dot comma is good for dots and comma strokes. So that's what I shall be using that for. Just to show you briefly, I've also got what I'm going to be called a blossom, which is a petal brush, a liner and a dagger. So really essential brushes for all professionals, but also wonderful for beginners. So let me start. Now I'm going to do just a strap across my arm. So I've got some brown and some yellow, some black and some white as well. I nearly always have some kind of palette to work from as well, so you can mix some colours. But to be honest, this really doesn't take very long. So let's start with a kind of mid-tone. So I'm going to mix some yellow with the brown to make a sort of lighter leather colour. That's my yellow, so I'll load that up. I've got my angle brush here. This is a 1/2 inch. It has got a lovely sharp chisel edge as well. And I'm going to get some brown, and I think I'll just mix it up in palette as well, just so we can create a range of colors. So going from a yellowy brown through to a dark brown all the way through. So let's just start with a strap across like this. Now the lighting I've made a bit different today because I wanted to have more extreme shadows. So we'll see if it works. Get a bit more brown on that mix. So as I say, just take a strap across there. I could have one coming down here maybe as well, going underneath. There we go. And let's take that over here as well. So imagine that's come through there to come out that side, and that one that side. Now I'm going to take my dot comma and I'm going to get some white that's still a bit wet. Let's have a go. What I'll just do is quickly do a pat to dry most of it. That still keeps quite a bit of colour. And then I'm going to put a buckle here, just a single one, like a watch strap really, I think. So put thin here and then across, thin there. So as I say, this is something relatively simple that you really could do on the job, and it looks quite impressive. And then we'll have a little of the I don't know what it's called, the stud, the thing that goes through the holes anyway. And then while we're at it, we'll just do a I'll put the tail of it here. A bit lighter perhaps. And then we'll just blend that in a bit. And I'll add the shadows in a while. I'm going to put a slightly lighter bit just at the top there where that bar would be underneath, and it's where the leather would be raised up a little bit. And then we'll get some of the darker brown. And I shall just add a little bit of shading here. Just a tad. Because it's a matter of building it up really. And as you get more confident, so it's a really good idea to practice all this. As you get more confident, you can do it quicker and quicker. Now, I often get a really cheapy old brush to do other shading. So this is a very cheap brush I got from, it's actually Farrell and Gold. It probably came from the works or something. So it's a flat, but it's a narrow one, so it's quite good for getting in these gaps. So I'm just going to add a little bit of brown to add a bit of shading here as well. Let's get this darker brown. And I might add a little bit of black. Again, you can do it in your palette if you need. And I've got some kind of loaded up already. So it's a darker brown, maybe a little bit more. And what helps is to have a slightly dry brush. So I'm sort of wiping off the excess. Okay, and now we can add a little bit of shading in here. And there. And underneath the buckle piece there. And also under the little tongue, again fairly quickly. and a bit more of the dark behind here. Now, as I say, this is just a cheap brush. I do have some small, a really tiny brush. What's this one? This is a Rosemary & Co. 3/8 short angular, and that's quite useful as well. So I always have a few different size flats, but you know, if you can't find a fine enough one, then a real cheapy one like this is fine. So I could add, whoops, a little bit of line work down there. Bring this slightly sideways on. Right, now I'm going to get another, I'm going to actually use this one and add a bit of, start a little bit of highlight. Now I've just picked up white on here, and again, when you're face painting, we tend to work just very simply. It's black or it's white. So again, over that bar, I'm going to add a bit of highlight. So it sort of lifts it off there. And I could maybe add a bit of highlight here. Add a bit of sort of curvature, and perhaps a little bit on the end there. That might be sticking out, lifting up a little bit. Starts to bring it alive. Now I've got my number 4 Desert Island here, which has got a fantastic point. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, because I put white over there, it's sunk in a little bit, so it's not super bright white, which is fine. So now I'm going to pick up some ordinary white with this brush. It's one of these things when you do these kind of realism that you kind of add a bit here, and then you add a bit more, and then you know, you do something else and you come back and you think, oh, that needs a little bit more. So, you know, don't be afraid to change bits, add a bit more highlight, a bit more low light. I'm just going to smudge that with my finger to make that a little bit brighter there. You do have to establish in your mind where the light is coming from. And at the moment, you can see if I put my hand there, you can see the light is coming from over there. The light source is upright. So the most of the shading should be on this side of it. So that's where it's going to be darker. So make sure you establish that in your mind. I'm going to go back with this number 4. This number 4, by the way, is seriously, it's as good as a 2 or a 1 almost. It has such a fine point. It's beautiful. So this is the Desert Island from the new Juliet collection. Right, let's just put a little, I'm going to put a darker line around the edge here, and also there, and down the side of this strap. And then it's handy to have maybe a blender. This is just a filbert. They're always good for blending. So it's starting to come alive a bit more. I'm going to tip my blender there with a bit of black. Again, I don't want too much. Again, you just learn it gradually, and we're going to increase the depth of shadow under there. Actually, I'm going to use my little flat again because I want to get in here again. Add more depth there and down the side here, and we want to give this a bit of a slope, a bit of a curve there. Bit of a shadow beside that little stick. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. So you can see I'm just sort of adding more and more depth, getting darker and darker. Now, drop shadows cause a lot of people trouble, and I have to say that it's one of those things that it becomes a bit of trial and error. I don't always hit exactly the right colour to use, but basically you want to do a darker shade than the surface you're painting on. So, you know, if you're painting on doing some body painting on a blue body, you've got to go to a darker shade than that. So my skin is whatever, you know, skin colour. And so I'm going to get some brown and softly create some shadow in here. So the paint is quite watery. And remember, the shadow will be much harsher close to the object that's casting the shadow. And it gets softer towards the edge of the shadow. So I've just got a brush here which I've just wet, and I just want to soften the edge. So this is just wet, but I'm wiped off most of it. So that forms more of a shadow. I'll do the same down this side. So draw a line. It's not thick paint, it's fairly watery. And then again I'm going to get my blender, which is just wetted, and then soften that edge. You have to wipe off the paint that it picks up. Soften the edge. Do it going this way as well. I'm actually washing this brush again because it had picked up paint. So I washed it and wipe it dry, and then I can use it to again just soften that edge. Now, it may not stand out enough, so as I say, this corner here should be much darker, so I'll now pick up a little bit of black, maybe rub it through some brown, but mainly black, and we'll get a real sharp shadow here. And again, soften it off with that one. You can see how thin this brush is. Honestly, it's like working with a number 2 or something. Right. we doing? Looking at the time. Okay, so sometimes I put, you know, a little strap across as well. There'll be, I'll put some other photos up so you'll be able to see. But you basically get the idea there. Maybe a final highlight just in a couple of areas. There we go. And you know, I just highly recommend you seriously practice it. You'll get better and better. There we go. There we are. There we are, that'll do you. Little strap on the arm. Give you an idea anyway. That's some little techniques. Hope it was useful. Yeah, so if you want to learn more, come and join the fan club. We're a really friendly bunch. Weekly classes and yeah, live classes every week. Okay, anyway, hope that was useful, and see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.